Hey everybody. Today we thought we'd do a little something different. Only because this week, look at that big smile. This week marks the 1 year anniversary of us moving to Tennessee.
Wonderful.
Yep. And it's been a year of ups and downs. More ups than downs.
I would say.
Yeah. There's a couple bad downs, but
there is for everybody, right?
Right. And, it's like there's a lot of people moving all over the country to different states. And we moved from Pennsylvania to Tennessee. And there's a lot we learned. We did our research somewhat before we moved. We picked Tennessee because we came here on vacations. We loved the area.
And the people.
And the people, right. So it wasn't that big of a difficult
decision.
Choice. Yeah, right. But a lot of the videos that we saw on YouTube were, the pros and cons of moving to East Tennessee, but they were all from realtors trying to make a sale. They're not going to really tell you, hey, look, this is bad. Or
there were some facts, though, that we will point out.
But, for the most part, they're looking to make money, and they're not going to make any money if they're like, you don't want to move here. Oh, my God, don't move here. Which starts us off with the first thing, and that is there's no more room at the inn. Unless your name is Jesus, Tennessee is completely full. And with that said, we can start with the pros and the cons. Now, these are not ranked.
Excuse me.
Coffee monster, like cough, not coffee. Well, she's a coffee monster too. Anyway, these are not rated or ranked best to worst or anything like that. These are just random pros and cons.
And there are opinions.
Yes, and things that we
have personally experienced.
Right. I wrote down a cheat sheet because there's no way I could remember all of it. And so let's begin. So the very first one, it never bothered us, but it might bother some. You will be asked
1,000 times.
At least. Have you found a church yet? Now, for us, we were looking for a church. So it kind of played into what we were looking for and what we were trying to do.
And we have been to different denominations, and we have experienced, different ways that people welcome you to their church. And we are very fortunate.
Yeah. Now that's more Stephanie than me. I've actually only been to 2 churches in my whole entire life, excluding funerals, weddings, that kind of thing. And the church that I went to as a child was, that was like a once a month. It wasn't even on Sundays. It was once a month for like hymn sings.
Anybody out there remember hymn sings? Well, Tennessee still has them.
Yeah. But at any rate, this is really the first church I've ever been to. This is all pretty new to me, but I'm enjoying it. So if you need a good church, if you need to get find a good church, just contact us, leave a message below, send an email or something, and we know of a good one. So next is not to get political. There's enough of that nonsense.
There's another question that you will get asked. We were actually asked this question at the cashier's desk when we would go
to a restaurant,
cash out at a restaurant. We were asked this question at shops that we were in, and this question was,
it really wasn't a question. It was well, I hope you don't bring your politics with you.
You're from Pennsylvania.
Right. So It's a little bit of things that aren't known. I can honestly say I look at California and shake my head and go, there's got to be something in the water out there. However, with that said, coming from Pennsylvania, I know how the state is divided up politically, and Philadelphia, very Democrat area, outnumbers the rest of the state. So it makes it look like, well, Pennsylvania is, primarily a blue state, which population-wise, that's the case, maybe. But, it doesn't mean everybody from that place is a bad person or,
We came from a rural area, and we lived in a small village of 28 historic homes and buildings. And it was a very small town feel, community feel. And you will get that out here.
Right.
If you're in the like-minded mindset. And anywhere you want to go to be happy, you do. You go to the brand that makes you happy. And when you're purchasing something, you should do your research when you go to move to a state that,
may not agree with.
Going to make you happy, make you feel a part of it.
Right.
So.
And a big part of that, the reason I tell you is not picking one side versus the other. I'm just saying that if you're like-minded, it can be a pro. If you are really far left and and you don't like church and you don't like Trump
or cows as neighbors,
right, then this probably isn't the place for you, and it could be a con.
So just do your research and be self-aware when you're researching the area that you're moving.
Now that brings us to the next one, and that is the people here are really awesome.
Genuine.
Yes.
They're very genuine. They don't mince words. They're very generous and kind and loving, God-fearing people.
Right.
And a lot hasn't changed when we moved here. Consider this modern time, but when I was a kid, there was a lot more neighbors looking out for neighbors.
Right.
And here, it's a community is a family.
Right.
So if you don't want to deal with your kids when they've been crossing the line into somebody else's property without permission, then that could be an issue. Because there is a lot of responsibility shared by the community here for keeping things well tended.
Right. Yeah, so that takes us to the next one, which is taxes. Now, I can only speak the difference between Pennsylvania and Tennessee. Tennessee, the sales tax is higher by a little over 3% higher. Property tax is about 10 times lower.
As of right now.
Right. Now,
we have seen a major change in, taxes and growth, as you do, since COVID.
Right, which takes us back to the first one, which is Tennessee is full. There's no more room. The gas tax is less than in Pennsylvania, but I know Pennsylvania is one of the highest in the country, so not real hard to be lower than that place. There's no income tax down here. So the money you make from your job, you get to keep more of it, which is a huge benefit. However, there is a tax on groceries, which there is not in Pennsylvania. So just some things to know that a realtor probably isn't going to tell you.
There's a lot of balance to be had. So we weighed the pros and the cons for the different areas that we were looking at. And this area for us
right
has been a benefit
right
in every aspect.
Well, not every aspect. No,
We're
there's a
getting
lot.
to
There's a
it.
lot of cons.
We're getting to it.
And especially, well, and we'll get to them. One of the biggest pros, other than the people, is the beauty. I mean, we have a beautiful view out in the front of our house. The mountains, of course. It's a beautiful, wonderful place.
I'm looking out our dining room window right now.
Right.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And so here's some pictures of the beauty. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed those few pictures of the beauty. And so something else, now this isn't really a pro or a con, I don't think. It's just something that was kind of shocking, is there's Dollar Generals everywhere.
Which is convenience.
It is. It's just coming from Pennsylvania, where there was one here, one there.
Well, even in our area of Pennsylvania was so much more rural than where we're at. In a matter of turning the corner, you're in cow country, and that same corner on the other side is a Dollar General going into town, you know.
Right. Now, to give you an idea, and I looked this information up online, simple little Google search, but there are actually 10 Dollar Generals in Greenville alone.
Greenville's a little
It's not
city.
real big.
It's
Yeah.
a little city, a little historic city.
Right. So 10 is a lot. I mean, up in comparison, in Pennsylvania, they'd probably have one in that kind of area. Now, there's something that outnumbers Dollar Generals, though.
And it's not schools.
No. Gonna tell them?
You might be surprised, but it would be churches.
Right. And there's actually 110 of them in Greenville. So,
Yeah, I believe that.
yeah, I think there's something like 7 on the road we live on. There's 7 different churches. Oddly enough, we travel about 25 minutes away, 20 minutes away to go to the one we go to, and it's not on our road, but
There's something for everybody here.
right. You know, if you can't find a church here, I don't know.
Keep
I
looking.
don't know what to say.
Keep looking.
Other than I know a good one. Then probably comes to one of the worst cons of actually living here, and that's healthcare. I've been hearing that, you know, it's like a lot of people that are older and retired are moving to Tennessee. You know, maybe other portions of Tennessee might be a little bit better, but at least for East Tennessee, the healthcare is
Poor.
poor. I've got this information from one of the local news stations, and that is that 5 out of 12 of the local hospitals scored a C grade. Of course, A being the best, F being flunking. And that was on infection problems after surgery, errors prevented, safety problems, doctors, nurses, and staff.
We don't know how rampant that is anywhere else.
Right.
But that was pretty shocking to hear about our little area.
Yeah,
here.
so almost half of the hospitals are not doing really well.
We
And
have been very successful when we needed a doctor.
right. Now, I can say that, you know, I needed a doctor, just randomly stopped at the first one we passed, really, which was a walk-in clinic. And they did great on my finger.
One of the renovations that we were doing in our home caused a major issue.
Yeah, I just, you know, I tried to saw my hand in half. Anyway, I mean, they did a wonderful job, and the people there were great. And but we also know of other almost pretty much horror stories of the local hospitals and stuff. So
Yes.
not somewhere you'd probably want to end up. And
A lot of people that live here do travel to the bigger cities, like Knoxville, Johnson City, surrounding areas that have.
maybe a little better hospitals. So I bring this up because I kind of knew this coming in, and of course we're both retired and getting older.
Hey,
Get off my grass! So it was a little bit of a concern of mine, but I don't know. I'm more transcribed to the, if I die tomorrow, so be it.
this is where we would choose to die anyway.
Right. I'm not looking to have to go into a hospital and limping away from something. So, at any rate, which leads me to the next big con of living here. And this was probably the worst con of living here is meth is a big problem.
All drugs, but meth is something I personally had never seen. I didn't know what it looked like, and I was volunteering one day, and I was outside taking a break, and I noticed a person walking through the parking lot, banging on car windows, talking to himself. It was intimidating. It was frightening. He reached in a car window that was cracked a little bit, and made an effort to take something. And I ran back in the store. I made an announcement to anybody who was in the store that their car is possibly being broke into. And I was really surprised at the reaction we got. It was, oh, that's just a meth head.
Right. Now, in Pennsylvania, not that we didn't see drug addicts. If you went into the city, you would see some here and there. But here it's really rampant. Almost a day doesn't go by that you don't see one.
There are homeless camps. Pretty much everywhere.
Now, with the drug problem also comes theft. Our house was broken into not long after we moved in by drug addicts. I don't know what ended up happening. All I know is that we never did receive our stuff back.
I do want to tell you that I appreciate the police's response. There was a detective sent, and there was an officer on the scene 20 minutes after we discovered our house was broke into.
Right.
So, and they did keep in contact with us.
So I had to go out and not only lose all that stuff, but then I had to go out and buy a security system, to try to have it not happen again. So those are some big cons that people,
don't take them for granted.
Right. We lived in Pennsylvania. We didn't know. We knew Pigeon Forge, Gatlinburg, Townsend.
I would also like to add that our police force is extremely studious on our highways.
And they're making
here in Greenville.
They make drug busts almost every week anyway.
I would say yes.
Yeah. There's a lot, and they really are trying to clean it up.
So they're very evident. They're you can see them everywhere, and there is a cop presence here. So that's a lot to be thankful for.
Yep. Now, the next one is great restaurants everywhere. Everywhere.
It's home cooking.
Right.
It's home cooking everywhere. Some places are better than others. Maybe it's because they're of their chefs that they have on, or of the recipes that they have that are unique to their establishment.
Right.
But wherever they are, we're finding them.
And we do plan to do a like top 10 restaurants in the area kind of thing. I was going to have like a top 10 and then worst 10. But
We don't have 10 that are bad enough to be on the worst 10 yet.
No, I don't think
and
so.
We've only been here a year.
Right.
And they're just our opinions. So.
Right. So, at any rate, another thing that goes along with that is in Pennsylvania, there was Chinese restaurants everywhere. Down here, Mexican restaurants everywhere.
And I would say half of all the Mexican restaurants that you and I have eaten at have been excellent. And the other half have been fair.
Right.
And we would go back, but not when we found the excellent ones.
Right. And we actually have an excellent one just down the road from us that we do have a video. It was actually one of the first videos we did. And that place is, wonderful.
You want to mention about their lack of pizza?
Yes. Oh my gosh.
So there's plenty of pizza places down here, as you can imagine. None of them are Italian pizzerias. In my opinion, an Italian pizzeria has a certain smell, ambience. They're speaking Italian back behind the counter, and you just don't see that here. So
well, the same quality of pizza. It's just
the quality of pizza.
The pizza down here. If you love Pizza Hut, Domino's, CC's, then you'd love the pizza here. But if you actually know a good New York piece of pizza, you're not going to find it. Maybe if you go to Knoxville.
Maybe. We haven't been there for pizza before.
Right. So, but at least in this little chunk of East Tennessee, no. Actually, the best pizza we've had since we moved here are Chef Boyardee pizzas that I made.
Yeah, he knows how to tweak a pizza.
Which is terrible to say. But that is one thing that is lacking. We used to get these subs made of like homemade bread, and they were wonderful, and you can't find that here. They have just like the hoagie rolls that you can buy at the store. So
no, it's not special. Not special.
No, it's not special. Now I have had a good Philly cheesesteak. I did have that down here. Like I said, the roll could have been better, but it was really good. That was the one at Riverstone in Townsend. Mm-hmm. But at any rate, let's go on. So there's tons and tons of things to do. There's no way you could come here and be bored.
You shouldn't be.
No.
You can, you wouldn't be bored if you were sitting on your porch looking at the view and watching the wildlife cross in front of your eyes,
Right.
You wouldn't be bored.
Well, there's a reason that the Smoky Mountain National Park is the #1 visited park in the country. And it's because of the numerous things to do. There's Dollywood, there's Gatlinburg, Pigeon Forge, all of the mini golf and
there's camping,
shops,
fishing,
hiking,
boating. You can camp in a tent, a camper, a cabin, a tiny house.
Yeah.
They have something for everybody in this area.
Right.
And it's a heck of an experience. We've experienced an awful lot of all those wonderful things that Tennessee had to offer.
Sad thing we weren't doing videos back then. So now it's kind of like, hey, do you want to go there? We already did it though, but just to make a video, and I don't know. So at any rate, we'll probably go back and hit things again. So another pro is the cost of living is a lot lower, at least compared to Pennsylvania. There's no way that we could survive on our pensions in Pennsylvania. Down here we can. Everything's, for the most part, cheaper. Now, the cost of living isn't as good as it was a year ago when we got here. And, whether you want to blame that on inflation, Bidenomics, whatever, whatever you want to blame it on, greedy corporations, the fact of the matter is it isn't as, the cost of living isn't as low as it once was.
Everything's going up. And thank God we're human beings and we're able to adjust. And Lee and I never live above our means. So we're not struggling like some people are with credit card debt or things like that.
Right. So you touched on this a bit earlier, but wildlife is everywhere. So if you're the type of person that's like, oh, wow, it's a bear, like, that's so cool. Or there's some deer, like, I love this. It's perfect. If you're the type that's, oh my God, there's a bear in my yard. Oh, call the police. Oh, my poor children are going to get eaten. Stay away. You don't want to move here. And I just tell you that for your own good.
Now, if you tend to be in the woods and take for granted that you're in somebody else's home.
There's so much wood in the woods.
We have seen that here. We have heard that here.
Yeah.
And we know they're not from around here, and we know that they are probably rethinking their entire life right now.
Right. It's like, well, I just moved from New York City, and now I'm in, like, this place with all these wild animals, and I don't know what to do. Go back to New York.
And including wild animals.
Which I'm going to upset my wife a little bit here, but there's actually a Facebook page. Yeah, I'm calling them out a little bit, called Greenville Newbies. And you want to talk about what a bunch of whining Karens. Wow. Oh, there's a snake. You shouldn't move to an area like this if you don't like wildlife. At any rate, we'll go on before I say more things that people might get in an uproar over.
It's funny to us. I'm
Yes.
sorry. It's probably not funny to somebody who's experiencing anything for the first time. We consider ourselves experienced collectors, so there isn't anything we haven't seen once or twice. So
Well, and where we lived in Pennsylvania, it was nothing to see deer and raccoons and possums and snakes and you name it.
and
it was
we
there.
know what the poisonous, nasty-looking bugs look like.
Right. So
And we've learned a couple more down here.
right. So the next thing is, it's a little bit like going back in time. This area reminds me of where we came from in Pennsylvania about 20 years ago. It's not, which we consider a pro. It's like still back in the good old days.
So I would say you will see a lot of cars from
The 80s.
the 70s and 80s still running down here. It's a lot of throwback. A lot of people, well, mostly because they don't have the money to upgrade or refurbish. They just live different, and it's comfortable to us because it reminds us of our childhood and our parents' homes.
Right.
So, you can come down here and, spend the money and get the high end this and that. And you'll probably be outnumbered by the ones that have a comfort zone that's not yours.
Right. Yeah, I mean, there's like log cabins and stuff for $2 million. My personal opinion, you buy something like that, you're an idiot.
It's the diversity of the mindset. You might have culture shock to move down here and have your neighbors or your surroundings go from a brand new build, right, to a established home that has come out into their yard
Well,
with things of keep that they felt they needed to keep.
I will say this: a lot of the even for me, growing up in Pennsylvania where we did, which was really backwoods. There are houses down here I pass and go, nobody lives in that, and they do. And in certain ways, it's kind of sad, but in other ways, as long as that person's happy and they're content and happy with what the Lord
Don't
provided.
come down and try to change your neighbor. That's a good piece of advice.
Mind your business.
Mind your business.
Yep.
And everything will be fine.
Yep.
Just accept that everybody has flaws, and you got to get along.
And it's not necessarily even a flaw.
Well, it would be a flaw in somebody else to try to change somebody
right.
when they don't know a thing about them.
Right. Like I was always raised to believe a house is nothing more than a roof over your head. It doesn't matter where you live or what you live in. And I was also always raised with the, you see somebody with a big mansion and a BMW, and it was like, well, they have more money than they have brains. And actually, I used to deliver mail years and years ago. I was in my 20s, and remember these big mansions in the town that I delivered mail in, and I would knock on a door, and they would have like 2 BMWs in the yard, this big mansion, and their house would be empty. They wouldn't even have furniture. They'd be sitting on cardboard boxes. It looked like they had money, but at the end of the day, they didn't. So
Moral of the story: don't judge.
that's it. You nailed it. So, one of the big reasons that some folks live like that is the jobs down here. There aren't a lot unless you're willing to drive, and the ones that are here don't pay real well.
I would agree.
Yep.
I would agree.
Now, I will say Buc-ee's just opened up there in Sevierville, and they pay very well, I think.
The problem with working, say, living in Greenville, which we know a lot of people that we have met live here and work in the resort areas and the tourist areas, is the commute, the traffic, and
It can take them 2 hours to get to work or to get home, and would normally be like a 45-minute drive.
so there's that. It just, everybody has to really think and weigh their options.
And then moonshine. I love me some moonshine.
I
I'm not
love
a big
moonshine,
drinker, but
we're not big drinkers.
no.
And but there's something to be said about when we first started visiting Tennessee. It was definitely to come down here and taste the moonshine.
Yep.
And experience it. Like, how different is it from the stuff they sell in the stores?
Right.
And down here, it's just a completely different creature. We highly recommend that that's something that you would experience. It's just tastings, and we wouldn't want anybody to abuse, alcohol in any way, shape, or form.
And we're going to also do some videos on, everybody that comes down here knows of like Old Smoky, and they know of Sugarlands, and those two are probably the most hit moonshine places.
But there's so many more
Yes.
that have significance to families in the area, and they've made a name for themselves down here.
Yeah. So, I know of one that I'd stopped at, and I believe it's run by Dolly Parton's niece. And
it was lavender.
yeah. So they had like lavender moonshine, red velvet cake, which were all very good. But it's some of these places don't get a lot of fanfare because they're just like a couple blocks back from all the
Hubbubaloo.
Right. Nice word. So next is kudzu is a vine. It's called the vine that ate the South, and it is straight from
Satan.
hell.
Yeah.
It's a nightmare. My suggestion to anyone looking just to move to the area, I know it's full, but if you're still looking,
If your property has kudzu on it,
you don't want it. I'm going to be completely honest with you. You do not want the property.
you're doing a wonderful job beating it back. But that takes a lot of your time and energy.
And money.
And you know, that's our life now is
Beating back kudzu.
Yeah. And once in a while making a video for y'all.
and the trouble with it is, at least for us, is we have property on either side of us that's undeveloped and it's coated in kudzu. So I can keep it out of here, but the stuff has the ability to grow a foot a day. So
I thought it was more than that.
no, if I cut it today, 3 days later, it's 3-4 feet back in our yard again. So it's a struggle.
And worth mentioning is Johnson grass.
Yeah, that's pretty wicked stuff too. It grows over my head, so you're talking 6 foot plus.
And you need a
height.
chainsaw to take it down.
You don't, but
It would help.
Yeah, you need something. So next is if you fit in the area, you can make a lot of really good friends, and the friends will actually. I hate to use the word friend because it's more like family. And we do want to make a special shout out to our dear friend Lexus.
Hi, Lexus.
I hope you watch this video and know we're thinking about you. We haven't seen you in a minute. And hope your ankle's still doing well. And
Getting ready for school.
right. Yeah, it'll be starting soon. So now is, you notice Stephanie was coughing here and there throughout this video, and there's a reason for that. The diversity of trees and plants here is, it's a lot. In Pennsylvania, most of the stuff has gotten wiped out by invasive species and stuff like that. Down here, there's still a huge diversity of plants. And allergies can be off the chart.
So puffy eyes, sinuses, coughing, postnatal drip. You will be struggling. If you already suffer from allergies, you will be struggling.
Yep.
And there's probably not a pill or a shot out there that will take any of the side effects away.
Yeah, so she takes an allergy pill every day, but you wouldn't know it. Along with that is, I'm sure it's not as bad as Florida, but there's a lot of bugs. A lot of bugs. Like bugs everywhere. It's like swatting stuff constantly. And coming from Pennsylvania, there's one down here that we didn't have up there, which is a camel cricket. Well, you want to talk about something out of the nightmares?
You can look up camel crickets if you wish.
Yeah, they're not pleasant. They don't bite or anything, but they're really ugly.
They'll give you the willies.
Mm-hmm.
They will give you the willies.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, they're pretty gross.
So when you're in the yard, and of course it's 95 with humidity 90.
Yeah, I don't think it's as humid down here as it was in Pennsylvania, though.
The sun is really hot.
Yeah.
It's hot. And you have to wear long sleeves so that none of those legs touch you when you're pulling weeds. You just go with the flow of the challenges.
Yep.
That is Tennessee.
Yeah. So, another thing we've noticed down here is there's still a lot of small business, which does our heart good.
We'd love to see the revitalizations of downtowns.
Yep.
And there's so many people that are really trying to bring life back into these small towns. And it seems to be working.
Mm-hmm. Newport specifically is really,
is a neighboring town
yeah,
to Greenville, and I see it as being very successful right now.
yeah, yeah. So the next is there's a lot of history here, and
The history is so deep. There is so much. People that like to do ancestry, you would be surprised what you would find out by, the roots of the Revolutionary War, the roots of the Spanish American War, the roots of the Civil War. It just goes on and on. Everything seems to have stemmed from our pioneers and the Appalachian Trails, and
well, and then up until a few years ago, I didn't even know what a Melungeon was.
there's words and cultures that we would never have even known about until
Right.
we moved here and read into it more and visited and
Right.
did our research and talked to the people who had family members that were involved in wars and things like that.
Yep. Which we also did a video on the Melungeons.
That was so exciting. That was like
Yeah.
a wonderful piece of history.
Yep.
Lost piece of history, misinformed piece of history.
Which we plan to go back there here soon.
They
for
actually have
porch
picking, so we can't wait to experience that.
Yeah. Now another, after all those fond things, if you have the thoughts of moving here, I suggest you're a do-it-yourselfer with almost everything, because
Yep.
finding contractors to do the work without being scammed is a little difficult. We actually, we were scammed. The guy did 98% of the roof, 98% of the back of the house, and then that was it. Disappeared, walked away. A lot of times we've heard stories of the contractor will show up wanting half at the beginning, and the people will pay them half, and then they never see them again. And so a lot of that kind of stuff happens. A lot of, I think there's a lot of people saying that they're a contractor and they can do this and that, and they get there and, don't do the job properly, or...
We've become a lot more aware of intention down here. With so many people moving to this area so fast, it's a good gimmick. It's a to start. Oh, well, there's so many people that are down here that are naive. We are one of them, and it's just as appealing to nasty people to take advantage of that.
Right. So I don't, like, there are good contractors in the area.
Of course. Of course.
You just have to be very, very careful. And then if you get into the middle of a job and was a scam and they walk off the job, trying to find somebody else to come in and finish the work is almost a no-go.
We have found 9 other, this is 1 year that we have found 9 other contractors that have come to the house, given us an estimate, and have pretty much refused at the table or thought about it and then let us know that they will not be taking on, because it's trying to fix somebody else's mistakes, and their integrity is at stake, and their credibility is at stake. So they wouldn't come in, and there's no such thing as putting a Band-Aid on it after.
Right. So if pretty much, it's best to be a do-it-yourselfer.
Thank goodness you are.
Yeah, for the most part. So the culture, we touched on it earlier. It's a little different. You know, if you spend all your time in Pigeon Forge and Gatlinburg and you're like, yes, this is where I want to live, then probably stay in Pigeon Forge or Gatlinburg, because outside that tourist area,
That's where
things are not the same.
yes, it's you're not in reality of Tennessee culture in the tourist traps.
Right.
They're catering to you coming in to visit for 4 days, and that's that. You step outside of that. That's the residents. That's the people that work here, that live here,
Right.
that were raised here, and there's a completely different culture mindset.
Yeah. So this is one of the coolest things that we think anyway, is now see, we love the rustic cabins, and we love I guess you would call it like the hillbilly backwoods kind of culture. That's what we came from up
Primitive. We loved and were steeped in primitive, not just decorating, but use of primitive instrumentations and reasoning, and it makes complete sense,
right? And
to us.
You know, from coming from like my grandparents' farm, your grandparents had a farm.
To have the basics. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Well, there's a lot of farms here, and you know, so for us it was a pretty easy adjustment, because it was, you know, like being up there, just in a different place.
Yeah, for us.
Yeah. But you know, it is a different culture. Now, with that said, right around the corner is a huge science and tech. They actually created the touch screen here. They had the first 3D printed car here.
It's something you never would have guessed out of Eastern Tennessee, that the government had roots in here. Is, to me, it's like no different than an Area 51, that it would be such a secretive technological sounding board, jumping point, but it was right here in Tennessee.
Right.
And it is recently become somewhat of a, yes, come to this area for the museums, and come to this area for the colleges on technical advances,
Right.
which is wonderful. But until recently, this area that the government had control over for all this research was very quieted.
Yep. Now, on to the next, which would be traffic and roads. Stephanie should be quiet for this part because she doesn't drive, but
And I have driven on Tennessee roads.
but yeah, you have, and actually you've seen. So most people are familiar with, you know, Pigeon Forge and Gatlinburg, which is a traffic nightmare, especially during the tourist season. My personal opinion, I would be happy if all roads were dirt roads, but
We've got them.
yeah, if you get outside of that area, there are quite a few dirt roads left, and even some paved ones that are barely wide enough for one car, let alone traffic coming each way. So, yeah, there's times it's like, oh, stick it in the ditch.
Guardrails.
Yeah, guardrails, there are some, but they're really not a thing. So, you know, in Pennsylvania, I think there was a guardrail on every road. And down here, not so much. I don't need guardrails, but, you know, maybe it's a con for you if you can't keep the car between the navigational beacons. But at any rate, just something to be, you know, something noteworthy.
Things tend to be built up mountains, or you're built on a boulder.
Right. Something I always see the realtors actually talking about on their videos, the pros and cons, is the weather. I would say it gets quite a bit of rain,
There's rainy season,
right?
dry season.
But I'm going to use what the locals here say, and that is if you don't like the weather, wait 10 minutes, it'll change. And we have seen a lot of that. Oddly enough, because we still have family in Pennsylvania and we keep in contact with them and compare weather all the time, actually, the weather isn't that different, at least not this past year. It's almost been identical. When it rains up there, it's raining down here. If it's 10 below zero up there, it was 10 below zero down here. It's been kind of a weird year. So, so I guess last but least would be, it's not all sunshine and rainbows, but our year here has been pretty wonderful.
I would say I agree, dear.
Right.
We've learned an awful lot that has made us better. A year and a half ago, when we decided to move to Tennessee, our goal was to be better.
Mm-hmm.
Just a better human being, a better person,
Right.
better to each other, better marriage, better everything. And we're still achieving that. That's our goal, and that's what we strive for every day.
Yep. I'm still working on it.
What you said about rainbows
Yeah. So the rainbows
in Tennessee
in Tennessee
are beautiful.
and the God's promise to never flood the world again.
That's the rainbows that you will see
Right.
here in Eastern Tennessee.
Right.
Or God's rainbows.
Right. And so that, unless you have any more to add, I think that pretty much does it.
And these are all our opinions of our experiences here. And we have a whole lot more that we could get personal on. Let us know if you would like to know our personal journey with fixing the house up. And do a video from all the improvements that we've made in a consecutive video. We'd be happy to do that for you too.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I mean, this channel actually started off just as to keep family and friends of ours that live in other states, like, hey, this is what we're doing. Some of the family and friends will never get to come here and be a part of what we have here in Tennessee. They've never been to Tennessee, and we wanted to share, what it was all about. And thankfully, we were able to do that. It's nice that other people want to, join in, and we appreciate everybody that's subscribed, made comments.
And we thank you for being with us as we celebrate this year in Tennessee.
Woohoo!
Till next time, we hope you have a Stephenly day.
Yes, we do. Thank you for watching. And we do have more videos planned here real soon.